Hi, this is Isabel. In today's video, I want to share with you a little bit about the Swiss market, the conditions of the Swiss market, what to expect, and all this stuff. So some of the main things that I found in my research about the Swiss market is that it's actually a great place in terms of development for 2019, including for foreigners. So 2018 has been really good, and for 2019, there will be definitely some jobs to be filled, and I think people can bring value at their own level in the job market. So you just have to see. I think one figure that was interesting to note in my research was that 0.3% of companies are employing 26% of population. So that means that the job market tends to be a little bit segmented. You find, and that's what I tell people, that the job hubs are mostly Zurich and Geneva as a whole. I mean, there's jobs everywhere, but if you're a professional and a foreigner, chances are you will find a job easier in those two hubs. So you just have to understand this concentration where the work is, and the fact that not every company is going to be interested in you, mostly multinationals or international organizations. So that also limits your market to some extent to those two cities. So that was the number one thing in my research. The number two item that I found, or highlight for you to know, is that soft skills will be needed in Switzerland. So by soft skills, I mean teamwork, project work, I think to some extent communications, also understanding languages. So I always say this, speak as many languages as possible when you come to Switzerland. That's going to sell you to any job, because even if you don't have all the skills for a position, but you speak several languages, you can be definitely of value to an employer, because they can have you translate, they can have you write in the language. So again, I would suggest if you work in a company right now where you use different languages, a lot of European countries now, people are multilingual, you will have value in Switzerland with your languages. So that's the second thing that I noted in the Swiss market. The third element is that border regions are very, very dynamic. So by border regions, again, Zurich and Geneva are the ones that come to mind, because there's this transactions between the two countries. So the market tends to be quite dynamic, meaning that it has an impact on the workforce, more recruitment, more positions. So again, if you're considering where do I settle in Switzerland, or where do I have the most chances to find a job, probably the border region is a good idea. So look into that, look at the map of Switzerland, see a little bit which cities are around the close border. There's also about the Alsatian side in France, on the other side you have Basel. That's also a very, very dynamic place, especially for pharma. So look at those bordering countries. The fourth thing I saw in my research was that skills become more and more obsolete. So if you're saying, now I'm a programmer in this type of program, or I know how to I don't know, organize such and such project with such and such tool, especially when you think about computer tools, those become obsolete very quickly. I mean, not so long ago, Excel was the thing to do. I mean, Excel was big and everyone used Excel. Now probably it's still used, but you have so many other tools that are more interesting for an employer to use. Also with messaging, a lot of companies now are using messaging, internal messaging rather than email. So the way you work will definitely evolve as a professional, but one thing that is going to be on your side is how you adapt to that. It's having the skills to adapt to that more than having the knowledge of a tool that's going to be obsolete by the time you go to the interview. So rather than to say, I'm going to spend time and money to learn a software or something, especially if you're not in IT. Obviously, if you're in IT, using the software might be your job. But if you're more of a professional in marketing or finance and such, rather than to spend time learning one tool that's going to become obsolete, the skill you can bring to an organization is more how you're going to make sense out of what's going on and be able to use whatever is the most adapted at that time. So you may realize that Excel, that's been used forever in this organization, is actually not functioning so well and actually a waste of time. And if you have the capacity as an individual to say, this is not working, I can think of something that's better, you're going to be much more valuable than just knowing Excel. So that's what I meant by having a skill that's not so much the technical part of knowing how to do something or knowing a software or knowing a tool, but it's more taking that step back and being the person who says we can do this better. And by the way, I found an app in my phone that's brand new that does this 5 times faster. So this kind of skill, in my view, is much more valuable than someone who just knows the tool, which is pretty much everyone that's going to apply for the same jobs in your market. So differentiate yourself by being this person who's a little bit outside the box, who's going to be different, and who's going to bring more than just knowing the tools or just knowing the data, but you're going to be able to make sense of it. So this is part of my research. Again, if you're a foreigner and you're wondering what are my chances in Switzerland, sometimes a private consultation is better because I can really focus on your profile and see how that's adapted to the Swiss market. But at least this video gives you some tips on where it's going, what are the skills. So definitely I would say soft skills are becoming more important. Management, becoming a good manager, a good leader, always wanted in Switzerland. Knowing the languages, being able to understand the different types of markets that are here, you know, pharma and technology, and see how you plug into that with your career experience. So if you have questions, feel free to post below. I talk to you soon.